Nairobi.
Our conversations continue this morning, and we're having, a sharing of information conversation today and looking at lessons that can be learned from one nation to another. The Estonian ambassador to Kenya is here with us, Daniel Eric Shire, and we've been talking about a number of things, lessons that Kenya can learn from Estonia's economic freedom, coming in from CT. You had a question, or was it Jesse? One of you, before I ask mine.
Well, before I go to the wife-carrying tradition, I wanted to ask, does the digitalization cover land as well, land transactions? Is it also at 100%?
Yes, so the the entire country has been mapped, and every single plot is digitalized with a separate number. And so all of the transactions are immediately also, when you go to the notary automatically puts it into the e-register. The same for companies. And you can, as a Kenyan citizen, as a citizen of the world, you can access our company e-registry, and you will know who's the owner of the company. There will be their last income statements or all of their financial statements will be available, and you'll see again who's the owner, who's the beneficiary, what area they work in.
Financial statements will be available to the public?
Yes.
Government spending. Government spending?
Yes.
This is what we're talking about, government spending, so that everybody knows how much was spent, when it was spent, what it was used
Yes.
for. Okay, and then you're able to make a connect between that money that was spent, and you can actually see what government said they've spent the money on, and you can see it.
Yes,
of
but
course.
also private enterprises, companies. You will know name of company, who owns it, what they do, how much money they make.
How much money they declared that they've made.
They've declared they have made.
Because I mean, we don't want to say that that we don't have challenges in Estonia and things like that. I mean, it just makes it more transparent, and because you have an auditor that has to put their stamp of approval on that, and there's a requirement to make your declaration. But again, if you're in a bankruptcy area, you might not have made your statement yet. If you're going to receivership, it might be delayed. So I mean, there is some challenges. It's not the silver bullet, but it does go towards transparency.
Essentially, there's a lot of information that is available.
Yes.
Yes. Now, this thing about wife carrying that Jess is all about, why is this a thing in Estonia?
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it started in Finland. So our brothers and sisters to the north, and it was that you would. It's basically you carry your wife and you run around the course, and then you get the weight of your wife in beer was the prize. And so the Estonians, as we've always been good in athletics, especially in the decathlon, for example. So where it's a race course where you need somebody who's able to run, strength, all of these areas. So we were able to become world champion for several years. So it was, and then that sort of seemed to be one of these areas that caught the media's attention. Another one is called geeking, which is a big swing. And it's, can you make a 360-degree swing? And the world champion depended on what was the height of the swing, how many meters. And I think it was well over 10 meters.
What are you swinging exactly?
You have a big swing, and you have to do a full circle, 360 degrees. And depending on the length of your swing.
Are you sitting on that swing?
Yes, swing. You're standing and you do a 360-degree turn. So, we have a swinging tradition in Estonia that goes way back, where you would have the whole family on a big wooden swing. And it would go back and forth. And so naturally from that, we went to geeking.
Yes. Are you required to provide proof that the lady is actually your wife?
In order to get the beer.
I don't think you do. It has to be a female. But they used to carry on the piggyback and things like that. But the Estonians created a more efficient way of carrying them, and I think that also contributed to the wins. But
what is the efficient way of carrying your wife?
The wife puts the legs over the shoulders, like hangs onto your back. Yes. So her head is down, holding you in the back, so the bodies fit together. Because otherwise, if you're carrying on the back, then the weight goes back. Because you also have to run through water. There's a water catch as
Yes,
well.
and then there's always a risk of dropping your wife. That may not augur very well
If
for
you
you.
drop her, do
Quite
you get the beer?
No.
You might get something else. A bollocking.
Bollocking from
There's
her.
something I want to understand. The education system and studying at the university.
Yes.
Does Estonia have an unemployment problem?
No, we have almost full employment, and we have some lack of employment in some areas for sure. The challenges of what we have in the education system is that the traditional system in some ways doesn't get you ready for the job. So one of the solutions that we have all of these startup. We have the most startups. Most unicorns, which means companies valued more than $1 billion US. We have the most companies per capita. So it goes somewhere from 11 to 12 of these unicorns. So TransferWise, which is called Wise now, Skype. You would probably know Bolt, who's quite active here, is Estonian. So these owners of these companies put their money together and they funded a coding school. And the coding school, you go to there after you've done your studies. They target, I think, somewhere in the 20s to the early 30s. And you come out of there with a job, not a diploma. So, I mean, it's the changing of the education system at that level is even the universities are changing, offering micro credits, micro courses for those who have already done who have already done their full education to get some extra skills to get a different job. So now it's really important that you learn the skills quickly to go into a different sector.
So when you say you have a job, when you come from that particular training in coding, what exactly does that mean?
It means that you become a programmer for an Estonian ICT company or something of these lines. So I mean, since the companies are of course they have their own interest here because they're looking for more programmers.
Yes.
That's one of the difficult areas for us for programming. So one of the things we did with Kenya, with Strathmore University, is we took 20 young IT experts from the university, and they came to Estonia for a 4-month internship. And the goal was for them to experience what the universities are teaching, seeing what the Estonian companies are doing. And if I'm not mistaken, 3 of them are actually working from Kenya, programming for an Estonian company. Because as everything is digital, you can do your job from home. You don't have to migrate. You're able to do it from your own home. And I think 2 or 3 of them also stayed to study in the master's level in Estonia, to continue to hone their skills. So the goal of that, again, is getting that experience, maybe working for a couple of years and then coming back and contributing to your own ecosystem here in Kenya.
Does the university system or the college system have an incubation process where one can actually harness an idea, build it up, get to a point where it's actually a business?
Yes. So most of the universities have their incubators and their innovation parks and all of that. So we work very closely. For us, the public-private partnership has always been important. So all of our government, e-government, has been built up by Estonian companies. In the same way we work with the universities. So the universities work with the companies, they create the companies. So all of this, the ecosystem is so close and everybody is working together, because otherwise, that's the whole point of the education system, is to create people who will fill jobs or who will create jobs. I was at a conference I think it was in Dubai, and they said the future of the university is not to create job takers, but to create job makers. And I think that's one of the areas that we're going towards in Estonia.
Interesting question here, and two-pronged. First of all, I understand you got your independence in 1991.
We restored our independence. The independence was in 1918, so we were occupied by the Soviet Union for that after the Second World War.
Okay, so you restored, 30 or so, 33 years or so
Yes.
since you restored independence. One might ask, because in Kenya we usually compare with the tiger, is it the tiger giants, the likes of Singapore, the tiger nations.
Southeast, yeah.
There was a time when we were way above them in terms of GDP and whatnot, but right now they're above us. So when it comes to Estonia, since 1991, I'd be curious in terms of your areas of focus. In Kenya, we've heard of the Big Four agenda, manufacturing, agriculture, whatnot. Why your areas of focus? Currently, we have the Better program in order to actually see the progress you've made within those 30 or so years. Equally, number two, the trade balance between Kenya and Estonia. Do we export? Do you import? Well, what's the prized commodity? Yeah.
Yes, thank you for those questions. I mean, initially, again, we started very much linked to this e-government concept. So one of the first steps was to put internet into all the schools. But it wasn't only for the students; it was also to give digital skills to not only the other generation adults, but also for the elderly, because we have to bring everybody along. So the goal was to diversify into sectors that we have a competitive advantage, and through this process we were able to build up our service sector, and especially in IT. So I think the IT exports are the fastest growing export in Estonia as we speak. And then we were looking at we don't have enough people to do sort of big production, big industry. So we are looking at adding high value. So, for example, Nokia has a factory in Estonia. ABB from the Nordics has a factory in Estonia. So it was really those, the high value added type of sectors is what we did in that sector. So it was we've really gone into a service area. Our banks are also very strong in the region with our neighbors. So, I mean, it was really to target those skills that we know. So our agriculture reduced the sector because it became more efficient, one, and two, because we didn't have the competitive advantage that, for example, our neighbors did. So we really had to focus on what we did best, and the main thing was an open, liberal, free economy. And that was the transparent, simple, making the life for innovation and the companies the easiest and the most efficient possible.
Okay. What was difficult about the process? Because a lot of times you start something, whether you're doing it on a person level or you're looking at it from a national outlook level. But if you look at history, what was difficult about getting from the point where, okay, let's even look at regaining of independence.
Yes.
Until the point whereby we're looking at almost 100% digitalization of an economy that allows you to do things in a transparent and accountable manner. What was difficult through the lines?
Well, I think it's one side you have the stigma that stays with you. I think unfortunately Africa has the same stigma as we had. We were seen as Eastern European, and we're who knows exactly
what they're doing over there.
What they're doing, and is it is there corruption? Is there things? I mean, and if you haven't even been there, you haven't been to those areas. How can you start commenting on these things? And I think that was one of the challenges. And I mean, of course, the beginning it was a little bit. Wild West. I mean, because everybody had their interests, and there was a period where we also had a change of currency. We were during the occupation period. We had, of course, the ruble, and then we implemented our own currency. So, of course, inflation was hyper, and people were trying to get money from whichever business option they could find. So, I mean, I think it was really how to bring everybody into the process. And again, that goes back to what are the benefits that the citizen will receive from an open, liberal economy. And of course, there will be those who will lose, those who are used to being in a fixed, planned economy might have difficulties in adjusting to the free market principles. So we had to also figure out how to bring them along.
Mm-hmm. Is it the brick and mortar, or is it goodwill? A lot of times we talk here and say, okay, well, things need to be done, which is true. If you're building a house, You're going to have to put the bricks and the cement together, whether
Yes.
you like it or not. But there's got to be a desire, an innate a desire within you to actually have this project complete.
Yes.
You know, to the desires of the whom you're building it for, whether it is yourself or doing it for somebody else. So, was there a mix of the two, the actual blood, sweat, and tears that took to get into it,
Yes.
or a will, a desire to actually make it happen? So then you drop corruption, you drop, poor governance, you drop these other things at the side to get.
KTN, welcome home.
And people, we restored our independence. We regained it. So that time, everybody, wanted to do their best, and everybody was anxious to be a part of the process. And I think it's similar to here in Kenya. When I go and meet with people in the business sector, in the startup sector, everybody's anxious to do things. They're ready to go, and I think that the government is currently putting in place a system for them to do their job in a more efficient way. I truly believe it, because the basis of our system is the companies, especially the medium-sized companies, because they are the ones who create the jobs. They are the ones who create the economy, and making that life easier for them has been sort of the key that we've been following in Estonia.
Still focusing on the citizenry. I don't know if you've noticed this about Kenya, but politics and religion sort of goes hand in hand. That politicians will definitely try and target the pulpits in order to take advantage of the masses that are gathered. They won't have to pay to gather people. I sort of understand that you rank highly amongst various issues, including being the world's least religious country globally. So I'd be interested in your take in terms of how spirituality and politics, is there any link from where you come from? Can you draw any comparisons with what we have right here in the country? Since you're ranked lowly in terms of religion, does spirituality hold relevance when it comes to politics, maybe? Yeah.
I'm not sure if it links so much to politics, but to policies. So for us, the forest, we were pagans until the German knights brought Christianity in the 14th, 15th century to Estonia. And that influence still plays a role until today. So for us, the forest is a place that we go to when we want to relax from our everyday life. We go into the greenery, we go into the bogs, we go and swim in the bog lakes. And of course, what I mentioned before, the sauna, that is really, in some ways, has been also our church. We go there with the family. It was a place where you gave birth because it was the cleanest place. I'm talking 200 years ago. It was the cleanest place to do these things. And that is, the spirituality comes from there. And I think our changing policies on climate, on green topics are due to this fact that we want to preserve our forests. We want them to be there for the children because we know that this is an important place for us. Okay. At the same time, the timber industry is also a big player in our economy, since we have 50% of the country is covered by forests. Also, the peat moss. We are one of the largest producers in the world of peat. So it's how do you keep that balance between these areas? And at the end of the day, it's more a question of, are we practicing? And a lot of the people in Estonia do have some, as you mentioned, spiritual beliefs, and they have the background. But because during the Soviet period, it was illegal to practice religion. The churches were all closed and everything. So, I mean, there is, all of these stories of how they had churches underground and how, the hiding the flag, so all of this is part of the spirituality and the people of Estonia, wanting to be free. So I think that's all interlinked to where we have achieved what we have achieved now.
Given the number of times Estonia has been colonized, Germans, Swedes, Russia, Soviet Union, there must be an Estonian diaspora. How big is this diaspora?
Yes, it's quite large. I'm actually from that diaspora. I'm born in Canada. My grandparents escaped in 1944 before the Soviet occupation. They went through the deported people's camps in Germany. And so I think the numbers that we're at is about 100,000, which for Estonia, 1.3 million is quite large. Canada and the US are probably the largest ones. And of course, most recently, it's become Finland. So Finland, having not been occupied, their economy grew during that period. And so a lot of workers, a lot of people have been going to work also in Finland. So we have a big diaspora also in Finland. But Canada, I think it's somewhere around 30,000 and Toronto being one of the centers where I'm from.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just quick, is immigration a big deal in Estonia as it is in Europe?
Again, Estonia has gone a little bit on the as far as you can get away from the main areas. We're right on the border with Russia. We're up north, so maybe the weather and the things like that are not particularly the best. But we do have a quite a large diaspora of actually Africans. A lot of coming to study in our universities, especially in the IT sector, and there are some also workers coming. But we also have workers coming from Ukraine, where our friends are in a very difficult situation at the moment, and they are coming to help us, because again the jobs are there, and we are looking for those options. So also again, highly qualified people are also the other area that we're looking at. So the pressures we have also, 1/3 of our population is ethnic Russians who were brought during the Soviet period. So we have already gone through our immigration, illegal immigration period. So we are supporting our friends in the south and trying to find solutions. And that's why I think this program that we did with Strathmore, with the Digital Explorers. Again, the cliche of teaching how to fish rather than giving the fish. Even though it's very cliche, but I truly believe in it, because at the end of the day, no one wants to leave their home. They want to be successful in their home and be able to live with their family and friends. So, I mean, that's the key.
Indeed, even as we wind down this conversation, Balozi, and you've talked about, where Estonia has come from. We're looking at an exchange of ideas and best practice with Kenya, and the examples that you've given of the education exchange and all of this. If you were to say, what would you want to see, looking into the future, of solidified relationship going into it in the future, what would you want to see?
Well, I think first of all, we're also here to learn from Kenya. So we know that Kenya is a very big leader in the green and the climate area, and has taken the lead in Africa. We see the potential of the continent. So what we're looking at, our plans is to make partnerships, because our companies are not all that large, so they're not going to come here by themselves. They're looking to partner with local companies, whether it's to do joint ventures here in Kenya or in the region. They're very open to that. So that's something that I'm really focusing on. And I think that in international organizations, we share the same beliefs. We believe in the UN Charter. We believe in the importance of sovereignty and borders. So I think that we have that potential to cooperate at all levels. And I see Kenya as being a door to Africa for Estonia, and I hope that Estonia can be a door to Kenya for the European Union.
Ambassador Daniel Eric Shire, the Estonian ambassador to Kenya has been our guest this hour. Thank you very much for this insight sharing with us. And it's good to see that this kind of partnerships continue and how lessons of exchange can be working for both countries. Thank you very much for being part of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. And we look forward to other conversations in the future.
Asante.
Asante sana. Thank you very much for being part of Kenya's biggest conversation, all of you as well. And God willing, we meet again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock.
Thank you so much.